Gosh, I feel really nervous. Okay. Hi guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see by the title, probably, I just wanted to make a little video. I keep saying because I'm nervous. Okay, I'm not gonna say 1,000 times. I just wanted to make a video kind of going a little bit more in depth about some stories that I posted a couple weeks ago talking about IVF. I don't know why I feel so nervous to talk about this. If you saw the stories, then you know that I had touched on this, but I'm just more of a private person when it comes to really like personal things. So this is just hard and weird for me. I'm not used to it. But I've just kind of had it on my heart to share my story and kind of open up my journey to people, because I don't know what it's gonna look like. I mean, I feel like I know a little bit about IVF and just kind of what it entails, but I just want to share it. I don't know why, because everything else, like really personal to me, I kind of just keep to myself and kind of like keep it safe, I guess. I don't know if that's like a defense mechanism. I feel like I'm in a therapy session right now. But I just want to push myself to be uncomfortable and grow, and I think I kind of started to do that with the stories that I talked about with in regards to IVF. And the feeling that I had after was just amazing. Like, I was feeling probably the lowest that I have in a really long time after an appointment that I had with that Max and I had with a fertility doctor. And I just, something in me just was like, just share what happened, like just share what you're going through in this moment. And so in a Q&A, I had shared that Max and I went to go see a fertility doctor, and we are thinking we're gonna have to do IVF because we want to have kids soon. I just came out of that appointment feeling really defeated and scared and overwhelmed and all of these things. And so when I shared that on stories, just the outpouring of love and support and just hearing other women's stories about going through that process, or just people they know that have gone through it, was so helpful. And just to not feel alone in a moment like that was so big for me. And so I really want to extend that same feeling to someone else. If that's you watching this, if you are going through something similar or just anything hard, I feel like we don't see enough of that on social media, and especially I feel like on my platform, I barely share anything like super personal. And it's just like, I'm just kind of over it. I don't know, like obviously some things I'm gonna still keep to myself, but I think it's important that I have this platform for a reason, and if I can share what I'm going through, if that can help one other human being out there, or multiple human beings, then I think it's worth it. You guys you see fashion and a lot of just like inspo forward pictures, if that makes sense. But there's a human being behind all those photos, and it's me, and I'm just going through life, and I've been through a lot of really hard things. I feel like I'm just kind of in this place where I'm about to maybe go through something that's also going to be hard. And I'm trying to like go into it with a different mindset than I have with other things in the past, where I'm trying really hard to just be positive and strong and not keep everything to myself. I feel like my like go-to response to really hard things is to just kind of like be quiet and not talk about it and not share. And I'm at this place now where I have all of these people following me online, and I want to make a difference in someone's life if I can, knowing that it's going to help me and hopefully help someone else. So it's kind of like where I'm coming from with sharing all of this. I definitely am not sharing I'm not an oversharer. Like, I'm not sharing for attention. The thought of even like gaining attention from anything like this makes me really uncomfortable. So yeah, I just want you guys to know where my intentions are at, and just kind of like where my head's been at with sharing. So, all right, so I kind of want to like get into why we're gonna do IVF, because I just feel like there's a lot of backstory, and I think just mentioning it on stories really quickly was probably confusing, because we are not technically infertile. At least we don't know if we are or not yet. So I'll just like jump right into it. This is really weird because I just like don't tell many people about this. But gosh, this is so much harder than I thought it was gonna be. Okay. So to sum things up, I'll kind of like maybe give a little bit more detail, but to sum things up, Max and I have to do IVF because, I mean, IVF is one of our options, and it's the best option, at least we believe it is, because I have a genetic disorder. I don't know if you would call it a disorder, and bear with me because I'm not a doctor, obviously, and I'm just kind of like relaying the information that I know about what is going on with my body. But I have a gene, and it is called the SDHA gene. So what this gene is it causes tumors in the body. So it causes paragangliomas. I think it's like pretty straightforward. It causes tumors. And so I happen to have a tumor. I don't know how long I had it for, but about 4 years ago, I think. Max and I were living in California at the time, and I was having crazy symptoms. I'll get into that in a second. But they found a tumor. I had it removed probably almost a year after, I think. I waited because the doctor made it seem like it wasn't a big deal. So that probably wasn't good, but they removed it. And recently it was officially 3 years since having the tumor, and I've been tumor free. So yeah, I've been tumor free for 3 years, which in and of itself has just been such a blessing. And it kind of was interesting to celebrate 3 years tumor free, but also kind of, it was like within days we had the IVF appointment. And so it was hard to feel like excited, but also feel kind of defeated. And I think it's been hard to process. It's such a good positive thing that I don't have this tumor anymore, but I do have this gene that's going to still affect my future, if that makes sense. So very grateful that I'm healthy, but I also now want to have healthy children. That's just the next step of everything. So basically, tumor is removed, but they did suggest that I get a genetic test after surgery. And so I did that, and they did find that it is genetic. So basically, that's the reason for the tumor. So it wasn't just like a random tumor. With that being said, I have a 50-50 chance of passing this gene on down to my children. So we had this fertility appointment just to kind of go over our options. I feel like I was given this knowledge for a reason, and I'm so glad I have the knowledge, because had I just randomly had kids without doing IVF, there's a 50% chance that they would have had this gene, and then from there there's chances that they would have had tumors and health problems and things like that. So yeah, I'm feeling like this is a lot right now. So that's why IVF is the best option for me and Max, at least, because it allows the doctors, or I don't know what they'd be called, it allows them to go in and select an embryo without that gene. So I think there's a really, really high chance that this would, you know, guarantee that it wouldn't have that gene. But I don't really know what that looks like yet. We have an IVF clinic appointment in February to actually like dive deeper into the details of IVF and what that process is going to look like with the genetic side of things. So I don't really know if it's going to look different, just because, I mean, we could be fertile, we could not be fertile. I don't know if it matters if you kind of like take that out of the equation, but we'll find that out in our appointment. But I also just kind of wanted to talk about going through my health problems and health scares, because that was such a big part of my life, and I feel like to this day it still feels a little bit traumatic for me. It comes out like in weird ways. Like if I go to the doctor, I kind of get triggered, just because I had so many doctor's appointments during that period of time, and they were all just really scary and felt really heavy. So now going to the doctor, I just kind of like, I just hate it, and I have to be checked for tumor reoccurrence once a year, and then every couple years I do like scans and things like that. So it's gonna be a lifelong thing where I have to just constantly be making sure that I'm like getting checked out. But yeah, I just feel like I went through this really crazy thing in my life, and it was so scary, and I'm trying to still heal from that, but I feel like hopefully it'll be helpful to just kind of like chat about it and talk about it, because I don't think many people know that I went through that. In a weird way, I guess 3 years later, I'm grateful that I did, and it's made me a stronger person and everything. So I just try to be grateful for it and use what I learned from that experience. So I'm trying to just learn from like how I reacted to all of that last time, and go into this new journey with, like I said, more of a positive outlook. So I find it really important to speak on things like this, because even if I've seen someone on social media like kind of touch upon or just chat about their health concerns or health issues, I never find that to be weird or a burden or negative. Like anytime someone opens up and chats about something like that, I feel so much less alone, and because it's affected my life so much that I'm just like a different person because of it. I think it's so nice to be able to relate to someone on a different level, like knowing, okay, this person has gone through something as like probably as crazy as me, so I feel like I can just relate to them. I don't know if this is making sense, but probably get questions about this, so I figured it would just be helpful to kind of like go over the whole tumor thing. Max and I had just recently moved to California, and I was having crazy health symptoms. Like I had very bad anxiety. Some nights I would not sleep. Like I would just be awake the whole entire night. You know, sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't sleep last night, like, but you actually kind of slept. I would literally be like wide awake the entire night. I also don't know if I said this, but my tumor was on my adrenal gland. I feel like I completely forgot to say that. So what that means is like it would make sense that I had anxiety and wouldn't sleep, because my adrenaline was always very, very high. I was always in fight or flight mode, which looking back now, I feel like that makes sense. I was always on edge. I was always really just not angry, but anything really small would just set me off like really quickly. I lost a lot of friends because any little thing, I would just freak out and be rude, and like my brain would just go right to like the worst things. What did I have? I had constant UTIs, which were so terrible. So I would have one probably at least, like at the minimum, once a month, which was just, if you've ever had one, you know it's so painful. Those, really bad breakouts. What else? I would get really hot, really sweaty. And so I went to multiple doctors. I was always diagnosed with anxiety, which I did have anxiety. So it makes sense, but to a certain extent, I feel like a lot of doctors really failed me, and I just couldn't advocate for myself. I couldn't go in there and pinpoint what was going on. It was all of these really weird, like crazy things. And on paper, you know, you could say it sounds like anxiety because it does, but no one felt the need to like dig deeper and actually help me. And so instead I was just like put on anxiety meds, constantly on antibiotics for UTIs, when finally I was recommended to a urologist, and she was like an angel for me, honestly. She suggested that we do all these tests. So I went in for an ultrasound of my kidneys, and my kidneys were swollen, I believe, and she thought that that was kind of weird. So then we did an MRI, and that's when she saw the tumor. So gosh, it's so weird to just talk about all this. Okay, I remember the exact moment that I heard that. I was at work. I used to work at Nordstrom in California, and I think she left me a voicemail, and so I went outside and called her back, and she said, hey, you know, I don't think it's anything to be alarmed about, but we found a mass, she called it a mass, on your adrenal gland. I mean, I had never been through anything medical wise. Like, I was 23 at the time, 24, and you know, so I think just at that point in my life, I really trusted doctors. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, because most of them are great. I just want to put a disclaimer, not talking bad about doctors, but she just kind of made it seem like it wasn't a big deal. I'm so grateful she looked into everything and that she found it, and I could have that knowledge. But she made it seem like it wasn't a big deal, nothing too urgent. Max and I were moving to Connecticut probably in a couple weeks, or like a month at this point. And so my brain was not, like, I didn't have the headspace to think about a mass on my adrenal gland. I just couldn't process it. And so, and I didn't want to go see a new doctor because I knew I'd have to find a new one eventually in Connecticut. So cut to the day before, 2 days before, Max and I are supposed to, sorry, my camera just died. The story is really long, so I'm so sorry, but it all adds up. So cut to a day before we are about to move to Connecticut. We shipped my car out, and so Max at the time was just riding a motorcycle. We went out one night to say goodbye to his sister and got into a motorcycle accident. The timing of everything was just kind of bad, but looking back, I don't know, I guess it was just like meant to happen that way. So we get into a motorcycle accident in California. We're supposed to move in 2 days, and I broke my foot, so I couldn't walk. I was on crutches. So we get to Connecticut. I mean, at that point, like, a mass was not even on my brain, you know, because I have a broken foot and it's my first broken bone. So that's kind of traumatizing. And Getting into a motorcycle accident is traumatizing. Moving across the country, it just was like all of these things all at one time. Just, it was so much. And then that's when my symptoms, I feel like, got just the worst. I barely slept, major anxiety, just was in like a weird headspace, and obviously was sick and didn't really like know it completely. So saw a doctor in Connecticut, and I think I was just like getting set up with a primary doctor, and she was like, okay, like anything else besides your foot that you want to talk about? And I was like, yeah, you know, my urologist in California had said I have a mass on my adrenal gland. And it's just, it's crazy thinking, like, even saying that out loud, I'm like, Deanna, are you stupid? Like, how did I not think that was like a big deal? But she just was like, yeah, okay, you need to get that checked out like right now. Set me up with an endocrinologist, and they started running tests and doing all these things, and just agreed that surgery needed to happen and it needed to come out like ASAP. So I was put on all these medications to keep my blood pressure down, amongst all of these other things. I'm not sure exactly what else the meds were doing, but eventually had surgery, and then they removed it and it was successful. So that surgery just in and of itself was really just a lot for me. If any of you guys have been through like a major surgery, then you kind of understand. Just changes you as a person, I think. Makes you think about life and what really matters, and just not to sweat the small stuff, you know? Like, to have to be going into a surgery where you don't know what could happen just makes you appreciate life and appreciate your health and time with loved ones, and just makes you be way more appreciative, which I try to remind myself often. I'm definitely not the best at it, but if you can take anything away from that long ass story I just said, it would be to just appreciate your health, appreciate the time you have on this earth, and do something good with it. Okay, now that I just talked for literally a million years, if you're still here, thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. If you had seen those stories and if you messaged me, they mean more than you guys know. I was literally like sobbing reading all of them, because it just means a lot to have. I mean, most of you I don't talk to on a daily basis, and so not that you guys are strangers, but just like to have this community of women surround you in a moment like that and lift you up, it just is mind-blowing to me. And like, I see God in those moments, you know, and I felt so loved and cared for, and just thank you. Okay, I'm emo. So yeah, I don't know, like moving forward, I'm not sure what things are really gonna look like, but I do know that I want to take you along with me, and I want to document everything. I don't know why, because I'm just not that person usually, but like I said earlier, something in me is just telling me to document and share and try to just help someone out there not feel so alone. Because I think for a long time I felt really alone in what I went through. I still kind of do, because I feel like it's such a specific thing to have had. Like, it's a very rare tumor and situation, so I still kind of feel like it's just a weird, I don't know, like I haven't had anyone to talk to about it, and I haven't heard of any stories similar to mine. And I don't know if there's someone out there watching this and you have had something similar happen to you, or know of someone that has something similar, I'd love to hear about it and chat. But yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna have our IVF appointment in February. I might try to like film a little bit just so you guys can hear a little more about, you know, what that might look like. But also, if you guys have any questions about anything that I just talked about, or if you literally just want to talk, my DMs are always open. I know I don't really get too conversational in captions or stories or anything like that, but I really love talking to you and connecting with you. So, okay, so now that I'm sweating and just talked for literally an hour, I will see you guys in the next video.